Once upon a time, the people had a home. They lived there, and they dwelled there, and they were content there, and they were prosperous there for a time. They lived there in Egypt among the Egyptians, and they were friends and colleagues, and they had a home, and they were content until they weren't. One day their home became untenable, became unlivable. They could not be there anymore. There were too many memories, too many stains, too many stories. Too much had happened, and they had to go. And the God that they had worshipped when they dwelt there in Egypt, they weren't sure if that God would go with them or not, but that God showed up and said, I will go with you wherever you are. I will lead you where you need to go. It's okay for you to leave. And so they did. And they wandered in the desert, and they brought with them a home for God. They had a tent, as big as this building it seemed, and it had a fence around it. They had a giant lampstand taller than me. They had a basin that they called the sea. They had tables and candles. They had so much that they carried with them, but they did. Everywhere they went, they packed it up and they took it with them, and then they sent the tent up again, and there was God, wherever the home of God went, the tent that they carried with them. And they wandered there with the tent in the desert for 40 years, and everywhere that they went, God was with them. Everywhere they went with that shelter, God showed up. And then they decided to settle down. Then they found Jerusalem, and they said, we will build a building of stone, and God did not want them to. But they longed for it. They wanted a temple like the neighbors had, like the other worshipers of the other gods had. And so they built a temple of stone, and that's when it all started to go wrong for them. And before long, they longed for the days when they wandered in the desert with the tent. Before long, they found it all too hard to see God standing outside the building that they had built. Before long, they found it nigh on impossible to see God inside the building that they had built. And they longed for the tent. And they learned this. They realized that the building didn't matter and the tent didn't matter, that the home of God was among them. And they didn't want to. But one day they were forced to pack up and leave and cover the face of the earth. And still they learned that no matter where they went, when they were together, that was God's dwelling place. So may it prove for us. Amen.